So I get a lot of crazy ideas. I'm an engineer. There's no such thing as a former Marine or former bartender, former Jesuit or former engineer. So I'm always thinking about ways to tweak things. I like tweaking things. So one of the things what I'm going to talk about today is how to pivot your intake session with elements of AI, specifically GPTs. Um, no special reason for this picture other than the fact that I think it's colorful and it's cute. This is me. I am part of the Recruiter Therapy crew. That is Shannon, myself, Mr. DeBennings, Nicole Foley, Angie from Chicago, Mr. Frink, who's now in Bogota, and that is Dan. I'm assuming all of you can read really well, so I don't want to go into that. So the whole essence of today and really pivoting on the intake meeting is to actually shock and awe the hiring manager when you finally get to it. And so what I'm doing here is I reached out to my RT buddy Nicole Foley and asked her, give me the hardest, gnarliest wreck that you have. Nicole recently started at Commonwealth Fusion System, and this is a role. It's a manufacturing engineer, more process engineering, second shift, located in Devens, Massachusetts, on site. Can we pivot our intake to give us stuff that's going to give us a leg up when we finally meet with the hiring manager? I say yes. So the key elements of prepping for the intake meeting, and this is the prepping piece. The running is a whole nother element. But there are 6 questions that I think are at the core of what we need to have going into an intake meeting. It's what is the total addressable market for the role in its job family? What are your company's and its industry's hot initiatives and technologies? What's special about your company, the hiring manager, the team, the customers? Where does one find the people you covet? What barriers exist that might negatively impact filling the role? And finally, what critical skills associated with the role must be assessed? How are these tied to performance? And how will TA guide this assessment in the most objective and bias-free way? So we're going to go to our prompts on this. And when you get this, I've written the prompts for you. Prompts aren't perfect. Mr. Wolford will tell you. But prompts are things that you can continue to edit and improve and regenerate based on the results you see. So the layout of this, the first question is going to be pages 6 to 11 and on. So let's focus on the total addressable market. And this is the structure for the prompt that I played with. I experimented a bit, and this is the one that gives me pretty good things. You're the head of function, talent acquisition, for company name and a few words about what it does, probably in some existing job description. More information about the industry name. Industry outlook is here. I just did a simple, in this case, fusion, energy, industry, outlook, ext:/PDF. I found one that still looks pretty good. I put that link in there. Your team is hiring a title with a focus on, in this case, process engineering, located in Devens. Estimate the total number of manufacturing engineers within 50 miles of Devens. Use data from the BUS/BLS, local DOL, onnetonline.org, private sources of labor analytics such as ADP, and other open source stores of labor market data. Be as granular as possible in reporting the result. This is the job description, and I pasted the whole job description in. And that's what it looks like. So what did we get? We got, based on the data available, there are approximately 3,000 manufacturing-related jobs in Devens area, which gives a broad perspective, how we're narrowing down to those specifically qualified as manufacturing engineers with relevant experience, especially in blah, blah, blah. The potential candidate pool likely falls within a range of several hundred individuals. Okay, I know I'm not dealing with an infinite number of people to recruit from. So that's going to change my sourcing strategy, my engagement strategy, my branding strategy, my assessment strategy. When a pool is limited, you have to be more forgiving in a way. And this is the report that prompt generated. It spoke to the geographical scope. It actually had a section, and I made this pretty. I'm OCD. I made these pretty, and so you can actually. The cool thing is, once you do a prompt in ChatGPT, by the way, I pay for it. It's $21.53 a month. It's a good deal. I also use other sites like Grok, GROQ.com. We can talk about that on another day. But this is what it came up. I downloaded it as a Word doc, and it was almost in this ideal format. I kind of massaged it to fit on a PowerPoint slide, but it gave me a lot of good stuff that I can use as a TA advisor when I get into that intake session. The manager is a little pithy, and I want what I want, and I go, well, you're going to be limited with what you get because of stuff like this. It speaks to the granular estimation. That was an actual title, a heading, granular estimation. And so it gave the logic. Okay, fine, this is dandy. How does this compare to paid resources, you're asking? Well, we have Lightcast. And so what I did, I just looked at the particular title. I'll get back to you, Gary, in a second, but I did that. But I wanted to look at I like starting off like pipeline. I like a wide funnel at the top. There's a wide logical funnel. So it said there, based on Lightcast, and there are pros and cons to Lightcast MC data. There are about 3,500 matching profiles, and a job family about 10,000 in the area. It's not that far off from what GPT pulled in. And so the beauty of it is you have $2,153 a month versus multiple thousands of dollars. You have to make the determination, is this good enough? Actually, this data, if you're talking about this graph you see, that comes from Lightcast. MC used to be called MC. That's a paid resource, a paid talent intelligent resource. About the other things, that just came through various sources. And the interesting thing about a prompt is I could always augment the prompt by saying, and show your sources for your data. And that way you have that. And I will also say, only use sources from 2022 on. Yes, Ellie, Lightcast. Well, fine. Well, this just gives me something to play with during, the intake. So then the next question was, I want to talk about initiatives. And, so the general prompt is, you are the head of, and you'll notice that first paragraph is something that I'm using over and over again. But then in terms of the specific things, these two things, identify at least 10 specific initiatives being taken by companies in the industry that will be of interest to people who are presently manufacturing engineers. Or from a company standpoint, identify 5 to 10 current industry projects, 2024, associated with the company name. Resources for these can come from the company website and industry press releases. Yes, I can expand it. I can add as much as I want, but I don't want to go overboard. So what do these look like in practice? Very similar thing. You're the head of talent acquisition for Commonwealth Fusion Systems, etc. Okay, this is great. So what did it show? Let's go see what it showed. The initiatives, again, I downloaded it as a Word doc, and these were the exact headings. I know because I sent them to Miss Foley, and she said, this is good shit. Sorry, Paul, first one. So the key initiatives, advanced manufacturing techniques. Fusion companies are leveraging cutting-edge manufacturing technologies such as 3D printing and advanced composites to create complex reactor components more efficiently. And it continues each of these, I asked for 10, and these are the next 10. I asked 7, I'm sorry. But these are all on things that you can use if you're trying to pull someone from not a fusion, an energy or utility industry, but someone who's really a good process engineer from another industry. Why work in this industry? Well, we have 7 reasons why. And you can include these in your branding, you can include these in your messaging, you can include these in your job description. Not bad. What about the company? What did it find about CFS? Well, it found from a few things. It found these both from, because I checked, and that's a really important thing to take away from using AI and using GPT. It's Don't, it's not gospel. These are not commandments that come down from a burning bush. These are things that you have to look and use your logic, use your knowledge, learn things to see if this information is absolutely on point. But these are, oopsie, sorry about that one. But these are actual projects that are out in the public that, maybe if you're in Nicole's position and you're looking for manufacturing engineers, you want to use these in your outreach, in your drip campaigns. But the cool thing is you're going to go to your intake meeting with all this information at your beck and call. And you're going to, that hiring manager, the goal is to shock and awe them so they listen to you because you're the expert, you're the advisor, you know how to find people, you know how to engage people. Next, well, what's so special about the company, the hiring manager, the function, and its customers? I bet that's something you haven't done. Is what's so special about the customers of a company? Bet you didn't think about that one. That's pretty cool. I want to know, because if I'm working for a company, I want to know what the customers are like. I want to know if I can, anything that I bring to the table, I can help them be better. So again, the prompt, you're the head of, very similar type thing to everybody else. Identify 3 special qualities, I kept it generic, about the company as an employer, 3 special qualities about the hiring manager, LinkedIn profile. You can pop the person's LinkedIn profile in. 3 special qualities about, in this case, manufacturing at CFS, and 3 special qualities about CFS's customers. Alternatively, you can go generate a summary of CFS's head of manufacturing. You'll see the name of this person. She's a pretty cool person. Encompassing 7 detailed bullets covering their professional accomplishments, technical acumen, business savvy, personal drivers. Use these search results as a guide. I did a search string. I put the person's name in quotes, space, the company name. Do you see, is there anything else that you could pop in if you want to, run this little prompt about them? In addition to a LinkedIn profile, what else could you put in there? If you have their resume, you can put in the text of their resume. No laws against that. So again, what do these prompts look like? This is the first one. I put in the name of the hiring manager. The name's Darby Dunn. I found that they're a pretty good egg, etc. And this was the link. I copied the Google link to the search string. I could easily have put the Boolean in there. It would have worked just the same. And what did it come up with? Well, there were 4 categories, and I split them by pages. And again, this is just what came out. I downloaded it as a Word doc, and popped it on the slide. Special qualities about CFS's employer, an innovative culture, and some things that are cool there. Mission-driven work, I discovered it really is true. Not just because Nicole told me, but it really is true. And Paul, I'll get to that in a second. That's a good question. Collaborative environment, it tells you about it. The next category is special qualities about the hiring manager. This came from the Boolean string, and it was pretty cool. I like telling people about the person who's in charge of the function. It's one of these magnet hires, and it's not just because CFS does magnet stuff, but having a magnet hire, a magnet person at the company, draws people in. So being able to articulate that in some way or shape or form, it's really, really good stuff. So that came from the Boolean. I think, wait a second. I'm sorry, hold on a second. Yeah, and from a LinkedIn profile, I went too fast. This was the results from Darby from the LinkedIn profile, and these were the things that came from the Boolean search. It's all specific, and it's all pretty cool stuff, and it's very detailed. It tells you about special qualities about manufacturing at the company, and finally, the special qualities about their customers. All essential pieces to developing a good branding campaign for that position. Now, Paul, when do you and do you not include identifiable information? That's up to you. You do when you have the okay to do it. I'm a pretty open person. I'll tell the hiring manager I want to use you and everything about you as much as possible because your story is a great story. And yeah, to Michelle's point, unless they give you the okay, you have to give them the okay. Simple as that. Nicole said, ask the hiring manager. Paul, Michelle, does that answer the question? Yes, good. Okay, the next question is, where do you find the people that you covet? I hope people here appreciate the Liam Neeson Easter egg. Cool. So the prompt is, again, you are the head of so-and-so, say tape type thing. Identify 10 to 15 lesser known places, because we all know about the logical places. We all know that LinkedIn, Indeed, et cetera, everyone's going to go there. But I want to know about the lesser known places, including conferences, societies, forums, communities, Discord channels, Slack channels, where one can find title who might be interested and are likely to possess a couple of words clearly missing here, the experiences and skills to succeed in this role, and paste the job description. Boom. Okay, this is what it was. Pretty simple thing. What did it come up with? Well, it came up with some conferences, professional societies, online communities, and I'm sorry, I work for DHI, so this is a gratuitous category, which actually did come up. But conferences, the ASME International Manufacturing Conference, and I did ask for the links. SME's Rapid, these are things you wouldn't normally think of other than Society for Manufacturing Engineers. Most recruiters, Commonwealth Fusion creates, pretty specialized magnets that help in the fusion process. And IEEE has a magnet society. There is the Society for Non-Destructive Testing. I was an engineer for 15 years and I went into this. This stuff is really on point. It's good stuff. And then some other online communities that you may not think of. Practical Machinist Forum. Machinists and manufacturing engineers are kissing cousins. So that makes sense. There was a cool forum that I had never heard this before, Engineering Tips Manufacturing Forum. There's good stuff in there. And the nice thing about all these is you can see the users and then you know what to do with them. You can site search them. You can create an account and go in and just rip them if you want. The Engineer Exchange, believe it or not, on LinkedIn is not a bad thing. And again, because I worked for DICE, it did show DICE as a place because, DICE is not as taken over by spam as LinkedIn, and also there's clearance jobs. So you can regenerate. The cool thing about prompts is, if you want to get more results from your prompt, just type in the word regenerate, and it'll give you more things. You can say regenerate with 10 to 15 more lesser known sites, and you can see what it does. Let's see what Paul's comment. Is there a society for destructive testing? Yes, I think it might be called the military. Right, Eric? So this is another one. One of the questions that I believe we don't talk about enough in intakes are, what are the barriers? What are the barriers to us being successful? What are the barriers to finding the people we covet? So in this case, we have another prompt. You're the head of same type of thing as before. Your team is hiring a role located in role. What are the top 7 barriers to recruiting for this role that must be addressed before and during the process of hiring for this role? And for each, what are 3 possible solutions? Here's the job description. Take a little sip of the coffee trough here. Okay, let's go see. Okay, this is what it is. The prompt filled in the blanks. Again, thing came out. I downloaded it as a Word file, and this came out as the result. And again, none of this stuff is necessarily mind-blowing or stuff you've heard before, But these are things that are often forgotten when we go into that intake meeting. So the unattractive shift timing barrier, the 3 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift is often less desirable. No kidding. Solutions, shift differential pay, flexible scheduling, work-life balance programs. Now, granted, some of these are in at CFS, but they're not in every company. They may not be in on your company. But to know these barriers is to fix the barriers, is to take them down. Location, Devon's, Mass. Believe it or not, Devon's, Mass is a pretty cool technology area, and it's fairly dense, but it may not be a prime location for all people, especially those who don't reside nearby. So relo assistance, commuting support, highlighting community benefits. When I sent these to Nicole, she came back and actually gave me some pretty information, which I'll be sharing in a few slides. Some of the other things, specialized skill requirements. The role requires a specific skill sets and technologies like magnets and thermomechanical assemblies, which may limit the candidate pool. Yes, it does. And so solutions, targeted recruitment. May have to spend a little more money. You may have to, project out a little bit longer. There are things that impact all this. And not only that, Nicole, that's a pretty good thing. And I think I asked you, Nicole, those numbers were not in the job description, and that makes a big difference. Industry awareness and employer branding. Again, good stuff. Limited awareness of the fusion energy industry and CFS's mission might make it, etc. This is good stuff, and it gives you solutions. Other areas, competition for talent, barrier, solution. Perception of second shift work, barrier, solution. And finally, safety concerns, barrier, solution. I mean, this is fantastic stuff. And we could, in time, generate all this stuff. We're all smart enough to be able to do this. We all have the experience to do this. But gosh darn it, this whole thing took me a few hours to put together. But to run all the prompts, fill it in and run all the prompts and put everything together will only take about a half an hour. And so these are some of the things that Nicole said when I sent these to her. She commented back. There is some flexibility with the start time. Okay, that's good to know. Might want to put that into the job description. There's relo assistance, which would be part of the offer for commuting. They do have a shuttle from Alewife to Devon's, but it stops, I believe, around 7 p.m. It's something they're working on right now. But these are things that are thought provokers. And if you bring these to the hiring manager as barriers and work solutions together, you're a partnership, which is utterly fantastic. That's your goal. So finally, one of the real things that I think is generally, for lack of a better word, a miss in what we do is we don't develop. We come up with the elements for the job description, but we don't do enough to work on the selection and assessment piece. And to me, this is one of the things that I found ChatGPT. I'm a big rubric person. A role, I for every position, I like knowing what the key elements are and what constitutes minimal, basic, strong, superb performance, because I'm going to use those to drive bias out of the process. Rubrics are great because they allow people to, I don't need all the interviewers in the process to be at the same table, but I do want them to be in the same room. And a rubric is a great thing to keep people in the same room. So this is how I use this. You are the general stuff. We've seen this before. Generate an interview assessment rubric to be used by interviewers to understand the relationship between critical job success constructs and levels of performance. These constructs are derived from the job description that follows, and the categories of performance are minimal, basic, strong, and superb. For each category of performance, identify 3 to 5 statements that describe the skill construct. Statements must speak to performance in the blank industry. Here is a job description. Boom, paste it there. Now, what did this create? Okay, pattern, we see it. Now, this is what it created. Well, it actually created a Word doc. And what I asked it to do, I'm going to go back to this in a second. I said, transform into the second for the rubric, run your prompt and follow with transform into an Excel doc with the job success constructs as rows and the performance cost categories as columns. And that, my friends, is what happened here. The colors are because I'm OCD and I have to make it pretty. But if you look at it, the job success constructs, it included process development and improvement and gave the definition, the ability to develop, implement, and optimize manufacturing processes specific to fusion energy systems. And for each category, it identified statements that spoke to what is minimal, what is basic, what is strong, what is superb. Now you go into an intake meeting and show this to the manager. You will ultimately get to the point during your debrief. Everyone knows, show of hands in the chat. You've gone to a debrief and you know what happens. Everyone says yes, except one person says, I just don't think they're a culture fit. And then you ask them, can you tell me what question you asked them and what was their response that led you to this conclusion? And they go, nah, I just had a feeling. Being your feelings. Rubrics help you minimize and eliminate bias. Well, you don't really eliminate bias. That's why this is important. So what's the upshot of all this together? For each phase, enter the prompt. This is the review the results, regenerate. You're not going to get perfection with every GPT, with every prompt. But regenerate with corrections as necessary, then download as your favorite file type. For the rubric, as I said, run the prompt, then transform it into an Excel doc. And finally, put all the sections together into a report and send to the hiring manager with this note. In addition to partnering on a plan to hire a manufacturing engineer for your team, I'd like to hear your reactions to my research about the factors that are likely to impact this process and the quality of person we hire. And I'm going to first say their jaws are going to drop, and they may not say it directly, but they're going to think, you did this for me? You bet, baby, we did.